Oh, hello there, and welcome to the Life Burst podcast, where we talk about the more competitive side of Wixoss. Today, we're going to be talking about some green cards in Changing Diva. As usual, we're going to use our grading scale of staple, playable, barely playable, unplayable, in order to talk about these cards. And let's just get right into it with the level one Signy. We've got Kapat. Oh God, see, there I'm just always destroying these names. Capapia's Jade Angel. Yep, that's what we're going with. It's a level 1000 angel Signy. That has whenever this Signy attacks, you may put 2 angel Signy in your enter zone into the trash. If you do, you can enter charge 3. That's a lot of enter charge. But then when you recognize that you're putting 2 angels into the trash, you're only enter charging 1. Still, enter charging 1 at level 1 is very good. The question is how you're getting those 2 angels into the trash. I guess, through normal means, if your deck is mostly angels, you could be attacking with this on turn 2 and enter charging. The 1000 stat is not a very good stat line, but it is an okay angel. It seems like the green angels have a lot of enter charge in them, and that can be something that's worth mentioning. But realistically, it's only really okay. Let's put it as barely playable. We've got Orpheus Natural Planet. See, they're getting me on the green ones. And the next one, Parajulius, right? Okay, cool. I can get the next one. But Orpheus Natural Planet. There we go. I think I pulled it off. It's a level 1, 2000 power Signy with the enter ability of put up to 1 level 1 Signy from your hand into the enter zone. And then its life burst is enter charge 2. Then you can add up to 1 target Signy from your enter zone to your hand. What's important with these add up to 1 means that you could just use it as enter charge 2 if you want, and that's a lot of enter coming from a life burst. And this is also going to be one of the first level 1s that really is giving you more enter on turn 1. I don't think it's that great. There will be better versions of this, especially in the next set coming out, where there's a level 1 that basically says, if you enter from field during your enter phase, then you can enter charge extra. And that's sort of the better version of this. Right now, as it stands, the way this one is phrased, it's a little awkward. But if you're looking at an early enter start, I guess you could use it. I'm going to say unplayable. Moving right along into Parajulius Phantom Aquatic Beast. This is a level 1 green Signy 2000 power. It's got the auto ability of whenever it attacks, if 1 or more cards were moved from your deck to your enter zone this turn, you may pay green and colorless. If you do, vanish target Signy on the opponent's field with power 8000 or less. This one's a staple. This one's going to be used in a lot of green decks from here on. You're going to see it in a while. You need to reliably do enter charge, and this, by the way, says coming from your deck. So there is, fancy enter charge where you have enter charge like selective, like VJ Wolf's level 1. And this will also trigger off of those types of things. It will not do it on your enter phase where you're just entering from hand or entering from field. It has to be from the deck. But if you can do this pretty reliably, and green decks in the future will do this more and more and more, then you now have a reliable level 1 removal option. At 2 enter, that's a pretty fine option. 2 enter is a little bit maybe overcosted for 8000 or less, but I mean, the fact that it's a level 1 and hitting 8000 or less, that's the sort of combo you want to see, is that it hits early game Signies. This will do the job. And so if you're going to be running a deck that has a lot of versions of enter charging in it, like basically the same decks that you want to run Osaga Getsune in, you probably want to run some amount of these in. It's a little hard to do the enter charge right now, but it will get easier and you will see this more often. Staple. Moving into level 2s, we have Citri, Jade Evil. It is a level 2 vanilla 10,000 with a life burst ability. The life burst ability is enter charge 1, then add to 1 Signy from your enter zone to your hand, or put it on the field. So this is going to be one of those rare times that you're going to see a green ambush happening from a life burst. And the way this ambushing is coming up is from a enter charge. I don't think it's all that great. I think there are better options. I think Jade General, I can't remember what's Amazonius is probably a better option at level 2. But let me go ahead and, yeah, I've got it open, right? So I can do this thing where, nope. Yeah, I think you're going to want to see yourself going for Jade General instead if you're going to try to do some kind of vanilla level 2. We have our, interestingly enough, our first, like, kind of multicolored card coming up here. Other than, of course, the pieces. We've got C. Kutra, Virtuosa, type Swai. It is a level 2, 8,000 power, with an action. The action is costing green, black, colorless. Put the target Signy on your field into its owner's trash. Vanish target Signy on the opponent's field. This is pretty cool. You can... it is multicolored, so it's going to have less decks that it can go into. But for 3 enter, you can do it as many times as you'd like. Go ahead and start throwing your own Signies into your trash and then vanishing opponent's Signies. So it can be abused in that sense, but it's 3 enter to do it multicolored. I don't think you're going to find that you're going to be basically you're not going to be doing this super often. I will give it the barely playable rating. Because it could be abused, but I don't think it's that great, and I think there's other options that are better. We have Palustria, Phantom Aquatic Beast. This is a level 2 green with 5,000 power. At the beginning of your attack phase, if you have 6 or more cards in your hand, you may pay green. If you do, this Signy gets Lancer till end of turn. So this is a mid-range card, right? Like, this card is good in the mid-game and pretty bad elsewhere. You can't play it early game. It's not, like, I mean, you can play it turn 2, I suppose. But it really has less amounts of things it can hit. However, it does have a niche, and that's why I'm going to put it as barely playable, is because some of these decks that want to have lots of cards in hands, for example, Uchu no Hajimari, also would love to have better turn 2 plays, and this would gain Life Crush, which is something that Uchu and types of decks like that do want and struggle with. So you might fill your deck out with some of this, like as a 1 of or a 2 of, especially if you need to hit green like numbers, like you're running Bang to Capo and you need some amount of green. This could be a fine way to fill out your green section. But it's not absurdly powerful because of that 5,000 being awkward with Lancer. There are worlds where you're playing green buff, team buff stuff, right? Green or red team buff stuff, and in which case that number could go higher. And the fact that it basically automatically has Lancer, I mean, as long as you've got 6 or more, and 6 or more is, by the way, a pretty high number to have. 4 or more is easy. 6 or more is difficult, I think. You could do it there as well. Moving right along into Fujiskapa, Code Maze. We've got a level 3 that is 10,000 power, has the action ability of green, colorless. Put the Signy and target Signy on your opponent's field with power 10,000 or more at the bottom of their deck. This is just another one of the plethora of like 3 enter options to deal with big threats in late game green. So Atalanta, for example, is another one that does this. I think not Helium, but it's another one of the ones that like are H, and it's a Cosmos or it's a Gem type. These ones are all basically 3 trash your opponent's Signy. That's pretty big. So you have a ton of options for that. So whether or not this is what you want, sure, it's not great. So let's put it as barely playable because you can pick any of the other options. They'll all be playable in a deck that wants some late game lane opening. You've got Fennec, Phantom Terra Beast. I actually like this one a lot. I use it in my Bang Center Dream Team. It is a Terra Beast, which is worth mentioning, and it does have something that does work with Buffalo really well here, which is at the beginning of your attack phase, this Signy's base power becomes equal to the target Signy's until end of turn. Now you should note that this Signy's base power becomes equal to target Signy's power until end of turn. You can go ahead and pick that this Signy itself. So if it's got its own buff and you want it to keep its own buff, or if it's the biggest thing on there and you don't want it to, turn into a 5,000 or something, you can go ahead and just choose itself. It also has an auto ability, which is once a turn. Whenever a Signy on your field attacks with the power of 15,000 or more, you get to enter charge 1. Its life burst is enter charge 1. The next time a Signy attacks this turn, you negate that attack. It's important to know that this isn't preventing damage. It can prevent damage if there's open lanes, but it just negates a Signy attack. So if someone, for example, is attacking under, or is just attacking and is going to vanish a opposing Signy, it's negated even if it's even if it doesn't prevent damage. This is actually a pretty good one. I'm going to say playable. There is other cards that also enter charge on attack. Shout out to Flopsy. This one does it somewhat reliable if you're doing team buff stuff with the Terra Beast kind of centers here that you can do. It also has the ability to steal kind of buffs, which is kind of nice because there are times that you're attacking with 15,000s. The cool this becomes a 15,000. It also works again well with Buffalo, like I said. Overall, I think Flopsy and this are pretty interchangeable depending on what kind of deck you're running. And I would say this one is better for that team buff deck. So yeah, this one can go down as a playable card in my opinion. Let's go right up to the secret rares of the set. We've got Influenz D type Dre. That's influenza, if you guys didn't know. This is a virus. I guess venom types are probably sicknesses. That's where you can see the little cell stuff. Just a little fun fact. It's got Harmony Blue Elrig, so you have to down a Blue Elrig, otherwise it comes into play tapped. And when this Signy attacks, you may pay green, 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 colorless, colorless, colorless. That's 6 overall. Enter. If you do, you can vanish up to 2 Signys, the opponent's field with power 10,000 or more. This also has the auto ability once a turn. When this Signy becomes the target of opponent's effects or abilities, you can draw a card and enter charge 1. So this is pretty much built in for Bang. You can see it over here, where Bang can give this this Lancer, and then if your opponent tries to punish you by getting rid of this, well, at least it's enter charging and drawing you a card before it disappears. That being said, you probably would rather have something, I don't know, with Shadow or something, so it can't be targeted by your opponent's effects. But it works well as a green filler of no life burst level 3, trying to get something, especially like if you need to fill out. Bang is the perfect example. It's not really great otherwise. You're very rarely going to use the auto ability where you're getting rid of vanishing 2 Signys on your opponent's field. But you can do it, and it is a late game option that can help you open some lanes at a very strong green deck, green color requirement here. So it gets a barely playable pass in the fact that you're going to use it to fill out some stuff, but it's not like you're going to be using an absurd amount. If there was an option between barely playable and playable, this probably would fit there. Then we've got Gouache, Natural Planet Queen. Gouache is an art supply. I knew that from art school. And it is a level 3 10,000. It's got several abilities. It's auto abilities. When this is vanished, you may put this Signy from your enter zone to the bottom of your deck. If you do, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If that is a level 3 Signy, you may put that Signy into the field downed. Its other auto ability is that at the end of your turn, you can add up to 1 Signy from your enter zone to your hand. Its life burst is vanish target Signy on your opponent's field with power 7,000 or more. So the life burst is actually pretty good. 7,000 or more will cover a lot of the level 2s and pretty much all level 3s. So this life burst, while not great early game like Red is, it's sort of the opposite of that, where it's much better late game. So it's a pretty passable life burst in my opinion. Your auto level 1 is a May ability, so if you need the energy, you can just go ahead and say, no, this goes to the enter zone. I'm just going to put it in the enter zone. And if you feel confident about that top, which I never am, about a top level 3 is not, it doesn't strike confidence in me. I don't think that top ability will resolve more than 1/4 of the times if you try to go for it. But if you're in the late game and you're like, I'd rather try to lane fill, I don't need the enter, then you can use the ability, and it's no harm, no foul if you're enter flooded anyways. The other auto ability is more likely to be important for you, which is at the end of your turn, you can add up to one's target Signy from your enter zone to your hand. Again, this works well with Bang or other things that have lots of enter charging happening, and you can basically turn that enter charging into drawing cards per turn, just upping your draw cards in general, and kind of making your game last longer, probably winning a battle of attrition. Overall, I'd say if I was trying to fill out my deck, I probably would go with amino acid before I went with this. But if you were really enter charge heavy deck, you might consider using this. So I'll say barely playable, but it will not age well. And the last thing is a spell, Heterophony. So it's like symphony, but heterophony. Yeah, sure. Enter charge 3, but it costs a green and colorless. So overall, you're going to get only 1 extra enter from this. It may be good if you are looking at you needing to basically convert, I don't know, red into blue or something, and you needed to get different enter for whatever reason. You can do that with this. Overall, this is just one of the few ways that you can enter charge on demand that isn't coming from, like, for example, Xenocluster or something like that. So if your deck is asking to have lots of enter charge triggers, like Parajulius over here, then this might be something to consider. It doesn't have a life burst, which is actually good in this scenario. It's just gas. It's just air, right? It allows you to, it doesn't say draw a card or anything, so it doesn't replace itself, so it's not fantastic. But it's okay. As such, I will put barely playable, but it's not something I'm like eagerly looking forward to, because even if I just want better versions of Enter Charge than just free versions of Enter Charge than just this, if I can help it. And that's green in a nutshell here. Again, if you guys want to learn more about deck techs and the metagame strategies, gauntlet testing, and other card reviews, go ahead and subscribe to the Life Burst podcast. And as always, may you guys flip a Life Burst.